In the late 90s, MIT envisioned the Simmons Hall project as an experiment in undergraduate residential life, a testbed for community, a petri dish in which the institute could manipulate key variables in student life. Time proved the experiment to be a failure. The result is exemplified by these excerpts from actual student interviews. Each one of those windows staring back at me. Each one like an eye. I'd count them in my sleep. 6,000. Realizing the potential for liability, MIT wanted to analyze the source of the problem, so they sent in their most gifted observational psychologists, Professor Ian and Professor Dan. They observed students from a distance and up close. Interviews were also essential to their analysis.
Wondering if, when you were at the dining hall last night, you used the blue plates or the white plates?
I used the blue plates, and the man asked afterward if he could have a sample of my brain tissue.
And there are two people in white coats, and they're just like looking at me. It's weird. What are you guys doing?
She's obviously hearing voices.
We are currently observing Jay.
We don't know what's happened to him. It's been several weeks since we last checked in, and we've heard strange sounds coming from his room. Let's go check it out. Fascinating.
They went so far as to stress test portions of the building.
Move this wall!
After developing a complex computational model of student behavior, Professor Ian and Professor Dan provided the following report.
The Simmons Hall building represents a new way of thinking about community. In fact, it sucks, and MIT knows it.
This community experiment cost MIT roughly $120 million. That equates to the most expensive dorm in American history per student.
You'll notice that there's a lot of glass. You'll also notice that there's not much aesthetic taste. This is what we call the cage. Supposedly a waiting area, but all it does is serve to break the spirit of rambunctious students. They can see outside, they can hear outside, but they can't get outside. Except through that door right there. Here, if I may direct your attention up, you will find wood paneling. At $800 a piece, there are several $1 million worth of ceilings in this building. Several $1 million of ceilings.
Common research found that ceilings are very important to community building. You will see here walls which look unfinished. In reality, these walls are very expensive, and they are in fact finished. This is how your wall will look if you lived right here. To show you how Simmons Hall and the way that it's constructed influences friendships and communities formed inside of the building, we're going to take you and show you the different routes in this very complex space. Hey Dan, what's up?
How's it going, Ian?
Simmons Hall is very much like a maze in that it contains many different passageways and ways how to get to places, and it's not always clear how to get everywhere. If we look at Simmons Hall and we realize that we perhaps have a friend, Jimmy, who lives up in Tower A, and we have a friend named Sally who lives up in Tower C. And Jimmy and Sally have a date tonight to go to dinner. It is not always clear how Jimmy and Sally are going to meet, as Dan will explain.
Sally, though she lives farther, actually has the more direct route to dining. For Sally, that means going down here, across, cutting through the glass hallway, and zipping across and down into dining.
Sally's route consists of one elevator here, one elevator here, each of which has a wait time of approximately 5 minutes, giving Sally a total time of approximately 11 minutes, give or take 1 minute for her actual walk across.
Jimmy, on the other hand, has a much more complicated route. Jimmy must first take the elevator down to 6, across, down again to 2, back over and down, finally meeting Sally in the dining area.
This route consists of 1, 2, 3 elevators, which gives an approximate time of 16 minutes. Even though Jimmy is located directly above where he's going to eat, and Sally is nowhere near where she's going to eat, Sally's time is actually less than Jimmy's time. So if your idea of a nice dorm is a nice comfy dorm room where you can seclude yourself away and not deal with anybody else, then you know that Simmons Hall is not for you.
In fact, Simmons Hall could be quite dangerous for such an individual. However, those with the will to shape this amorphous blob of building may have the potential to survive, or even succeed.
We're happy little Veggie-Mites, as bright can be. We all enjoy our Vegemite for breakfast, lunch and tea.
Choose carefully.